as that red thing's flashing, we're good, and I can edit that. All right. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Kicking It with Coach Webb. I'm here with one of my favorite people in the whole entire world, Coach Pixley. He's was my coach, pushed me to do things that I never even thought I could do, and then after helped me out with all kinds of other things in life. And this is, I mean, heck, this is like a dream come true for me to be sitting here talking to this guy about all this stuff. So please welcome, on your thing, get excited for it. I know I'm excited for it. Coach Aaron Pixley, great to have you, Coach.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Yes, sir. Let's, well, I guess we'll jump right into it. Can you tell us a little bit about when and where you were born at?
Well, I was born in California.
Really?
Lived there for about 5 months of my life, and then moved back to Missouri in the Dexter area ever since. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Now you were, growing up in Dexter as well, we heard all kinds of stories about the Pixley bunch, and there's a lot of you guys. And like, how many brothers and sisters do you have?
Well, I have 6 brothers and 10 sisters.
6 brothers and 10 sisters.
Yeah.
So you were one of 17.
One of 17. I had 2 brothers that have passed away. And then, well, I can back up here. The very first child, she died at birth. So there was actually 18 of us. So, yeah.
That's really something.
One of 18.
How, there's so many, there's, I don't know anybody that's not a Pixley that can say that, have that many brothers and sisters. So what was that like being a kid, with that many brothers and sisters?
Well, it was crowded.
Yeah.
But it was great. We were very poor growing up, and we didn't know it. A lot of fighting, a lot of wrestling around. A lot of 2 and 3 kids sleeping in the same bed, and we used to eat in shifts. So it was just kind of our way of life. We wake up early in the morning, run out the door, stay outside all day long and play, and come back in around dark and do it again every day. So it was we had some tough times, but I'm glad I grew up that way. I think if I would have grown up a lot easier, I might not be the person I am today. Not that I'm great. I'm just saying, I may not be in the position that I'm in now. So it was exciting, to say the least.
I bet. That's wonderful. And you've got, of course, I know lots of the different Pixleys, but another coach that's in the family is Arlen. You coached for a long time. Good guy. And then also in Dexter, isn't Garrett opening up the Pixley's Pub? Is that Garrett that's opening that up?
Well, my brother Garrett, my sister Lana,
okay,
are doing that. They got a little restaurant in Dexter now, so it's going good, going great. Good food there. If you get in Dexter, come by and get you some food. It's pretty good.
That's good. Pixley's Pub and Grill in Dexter is where the old Casey's used to be.
The old Casey's.
The old Casey's used to be. It's kind of right there in the middle of town on Business 60, a little bit east of the big 4-way. So Pixley's Pub and Grill, if you get a chance to eat that. But so you're in California for 5 months, been around the Dexter area, the Boot Hill area there. So when you were a kid, who do you think might have been the person you looked up to the most?
Well, I think everything was centered around sports in my family. Because it's really, whenever you don't have a whole lot, you got to find something you can attach to, and it was centered around sports. And whenever I look back on that, coming through high school, Coach Don Jones is probably the main reason I'm doing what I'm doing. Super guy, great coach. You know him.
Yes, sir.
He coached you as well, and I can't imagine having any more respect for someone than I do for him. And so from that standpoint, as to where I am today, doing what I love to do today, it's a lot of it has to do with Coach Jones. I don't know if I've ever told him that. I wish I had if I hadn't, but he's the guy that I look to for what I do, for my livelihood.
Now that's interesting because, I didn't even know that either. But if you look at the way you go about things was similar. I mean, there's a lot of Coach Jones type stuff, because he was tough in the weight room, wanted you to work hard and show up, and things like that. I mean, that's really cool.
As far as me, Charlotte Mills is a big. I don't know if you remember Miss Mills, but she's a longtime teacher there. She was a junior high teacher. Big influence on my life as far as me believing that I could get out. Whatever you grow up poor, sometimes you feel like there's no way out. And she kind of instilled in me that belief. You can do whatever you put your mind to. If you really want to do something, you got to go make it happen. And then, as far as that goes, I knew I always wanted to get out and do something. But, as far as coaching and getting into teaching, Coach Jones is the guy that he's probably the main reason that I'm doing this. So.
Yes, sir. So when you're growing up, so so maybe you're still a kid. What'd you do? Did you have any jobs in high school, or were you mainly on sports? Or
I lived with Mike Geesey for a part of the time in high school, and he had Geesey Oil Company there, that gas station, and I worked at the gas station there every Saturday. So every Saturday after football games or throughout the whole year, I was pumping gas. So that's what I did.
Yeah, and some people know this, but a lot of people don't know. So like you were a part of, I mean, if there's a more successful time in Dexter football history, I'm not sure when it would have been, but you were part of probably the most successful, I would group going through there. I mean, at least close, if not.
My 4 years in high school were, at least the three, the sophomore, junior, and senior year, that's probably the best 3-year run that Dexter's had. Now, we've had some really good teams, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
We've had some good spots in there, but, there in the 60s, they had some really good teams too.
Really?
I don't want to sit here and say that was the best ever, but, we were, as far as those 3 years that we were on the varsity, sophomore, junior, senior year, we had a lot of success.
Yes, sir. Y'all had a couple deep runs. You had some talented players that came out of that. That was a lot of the. I mean, you were there, and was Arlen part of that as well?
Arlen was part of it.
And then Earl Wheeler, the quarterback.
Yeah.
And then was Gavin Miller part of that
Miller,
too? Yeah.
Robert McMullen, Darren Hillis.
He played
like
Mizzou,
that all
didn't he?
played college football. Yeah. Then you have Ray Parsons, who's a sophomore. He played at Mizzou. Like Rob Moorhead was a defensive end, played at SEMO. We had some guys, and I'm probably leaving a few out. We had a large group of guys that went on and played some college football.
Yes, sir. I mean, I would think that, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but would that success that you had and being on those teams, I mean, that had to, was that part of what you're trying to do for others now? I mean, like being a part of that, or how'd that kind of?
Well, I'll tell you what, whenever you win, it's fun and you fall in love with it, obviously, football, I love football to begin with, but whenever you win, it's just, that adds to it. And, I'm sure, that success and those relationships that I had with my teammates, that led to what I do now. And I tell our kids all the time, first of all, I try to never say anything about what I did in high school or what we did in high school. But what I do talk to our kids about is, we put a lot of emphasis in the weight room. We put a lot of emphasis on playing as hard as you can. Someone asked me one time, hey, were you guys just that much more talented than everybody else? No, that wasn't really it. The biggest thing was we loved each other. We loved being around each other all the time, and we genuinely played for each other. And and I tell our kids all the time, yes, the weight room's important. Yes, this and that's important. But if you don't like being around each other, it's going to be tough to be successful. So we encourage our kids to get with each other, hang out with each other, get to know each other. Because once you build a bond, it's very difficult to surrender. During a game where the guy next to you is playing as hard as he can for you. So I think that's what I take from those years more than anything was, how much we really enjoyed being around each other, how much we liked each other.
Yes, sir. And I mean, I remember being, gosh, I wasn't a senior yet. That's probably junior, and you still had that little office down in the locker room. And somebody had a. I honestly, I don't even think you were the one playing it. I think someone else might have been playing it. But we got to see a couple highlights or some of the game film from that time, and that's something that sticks out. I mean, like, there's people on there. I mean, you could just tell how hard they were playing for each other back then. I mean, laying blocks, and I mean, it was just. I mean, it had to be good because I know it stuck with me, you know, and seeing those things. But all right, so you're in high school and you're playing sports and stuff. Did you have maybe a favorite subject in school you liked?
It was probably weightlifting.
Yes, sir.
That's kind of sad, but that's just kind of where I was. You know, sports kind of saved my life. You know, good coaches saved my life. Good people, you know, in our town. But yeah, you know, I love coming to school to get in that weight room. You know, because I'm a product of the weight room. My brother Arlen, his success, he's a product of the weight room.
Sure.
And we get a lot of that. You know, whenever we work harder than everybody else, we tend to be very successful. Okay, in anything, you know, any sports that we play there. I mean, you know that.
Yes,
and,
sir.
Yeah, you know, I love lifting because I thought it could take me somewhere, and thank the good Lord it did.
Sure.
And, so, yeah, that's. Yeah, it should be English, it should be math, but yeah, for me at that time of my life, it was weightlifting. So.
That's okay. And so if you had a subject maybe you liked the least, what behind it that bit on there? Like maybe one that wasn't, you know, like for me.
Algebra.
Yeah.
I'm not a math guy whatsoever.
Yeah.
You know, didn't care for English too much. I was pretty decent at it, but
yeah.
You know, as far as just dreading to go to class every day, it was probably algebra.
Me too. By the time I got to algebra 2 in geometry, I was like, whew, what's all these letters doing in here, you know?
That's right. And I know they have a purpose, and I just don't know that purpose.
That's where I'm at with that. What about music back then? What kind of stuff were you listening to back in the day in high school?
80s rock.
80s rock, that's some good stuff.
The same thing that a lot of people listen to today. That, I still play it, you know, on Pandora, you know, in the weight room. You know, I'll just put on Hair Band's radio or 80s rock. You know, most of the kids know the songs. You know, you're talking about 14, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids that they can sing a lot of those songs word for word. So, you know, just classic music. On my mind, the best music ever.
Hey,
best,
some good stuff.
Best decade ever for rock and roll.
Hey, it's definitely, no, I mean, if it ain't, it's one of them. I mean, that's for sure.
In my opinion.
Okay, so let's talk about, so you're in high school and you haven't graduated yet, but so when did you meet Amy?
Met her my senior year in high school.
Okay.
In the spring of my senior year, playing baseball. Actually,
Okay.
She was actually the bat girl from Malden's baseball team.
Really?
So, that's where I kind of met her, and we started dating a little bit, and the rest is history.
The rest is history. So that's, I mean, you talk about a dedicated mom, coach's wife, teacher. I mean, I remember when y'all were, and we'll get to that later, but when y'all were in Kennett, when I got down here, I mean, she was with me, helping me lose weight, like, just, you can't find one better than Amy. I mean,
no, she's great. She's always been great. She's always been the rock of our family for sure. As far as being a coach's wife, you can't. I mean, she's been just outstanding. You know,
yeah.
And there are good reasons for coaches' wives to get upset. You know, but she's very, very seldom in the 20. I don't know how many years I've been doing this. 28 years doing this. I mean, she's just been rocking and rolling by my side the whole time. She goes to every game that I coach. The past few years, you don't have any kids in school, so she just keeps going. She brings her cowbell. She wears her shirt that says, "Watch what you say, I'm the coach's wife." And she rings that cowbell and, just cheers for the team. And she's done that my whole career. And she's just, I lucked out there. I got very, very lucky.
Sir, that's what I feel like about Mindy. I just got lucky there. So you met her, and then so you graduate high school, and then tell us about how college went. Where'd you end up, and how that came about?
Yeah, well, I left high school, went and to junior college, and was playing football. You had some baseball. I was probably a little bit better a baseball player than I was a football player. I was above average high school football player. I had to work for everything. I could run, but probably a little bit better in baseball. But I loved football so much. I loved baseball. I was passionate about football. So I just, in my head, I had to go play college football. That's what I really wanted to do. And just went to the junior college. I wanted to go to the University of Arkansas because back then I thought that I could play at Arkansas, which I really couldn't. But in my mind I could, and they thought I should go JUCO first and develop. So I did, and and then things kind of happened, like twist of fate, and next thing you know, we're expecting my son Drew, my freshman year of college. So I come back, go to Three Rivers, was playing baseball there for a while. It was a pretty dark time in my life because I definitely wasn't ready to be a father, wasn't ready to settle down or anything, but got it together, and Amy and I got married that summer of would be 88, 89. The summer of '89, Drew was born. And then we moved on to Oklahoma City University in Indiana,
Okay.
D2 school in Indiana, and I went up playing baseball there, and she went to school there. We both graduated. We actually, raised Drew there. He was basically raised in the college till he was about 3 or 4 years old, and then we had Madison right before we left. So we had a couple kids at college before we actually graduated. So you people that don't think it can be done, it can be done. Trust me. If I can do it, you can do it.
Yes, sir.
So, I look back on it and there's really no regrets. Sometimes in life, things happen and you think the world's crashing down on you, and it turns out to be the best thing that's ever happened to you in your life. So that's one of them.
Sir, and and we talk more about them in a little bit, but it's cool. They're good kids. Some of the stuff. Now they're adults, but I remember seeing them and stuff when you were coaching at Dexter. But we'll get to there. So one of the people that I want to touch on at Oakland City that you met while you were there was Coach Tidd. Jim Tidd. He'll eventually be on the podcast as well. He somehow, so a lot of people may not know this, but your first teaching job in Missouri was actually first ever was actually at Kennett. And somehow Coach Tidd's involved in that too, or did he come later, or how did that work with that?
In 1994, I was looking for a job. I couldn't find one in Indiana, and left Indiana kind of late, around the end of June. And of course, I sent out resumes everywhere in Southeast Missouri, and it was just late. It was just late, and I was really fixing to go to work at Walmart. Okay, and I was a volunteer coach, but during the summer, that summer at Malden, I was at some of the summer practices at Malden. So I was just going to be a volunteer coach and then work at Walmart in Malden for a year, and hope to get a job the next year. And then Mike Hunter, my savior,
Hunter, man,
Coach
good
Mike Hunter.
guy, good guy.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite people. Calls me, I want to say it was about a week before school starts. They had a coach that had to leave to take care of some family stuff, and he had to go to St. Louis, I believe, and then boom, there was an opening. It was a PE job, health, and freshman football, and high school track, assistant track. So of course I came down, and I had a tie, I had a dress shirt. I looked the part. The first thing he said was, "You overdressed for this." So he immediately made me feel at home and welcome, and it worked out. And I was here a year, and actually had signed a contract to come back next year. Enjoyed my time here. I wasn't really looking to leave, but the New Madrid called me shortly after school was out after that first year, and it was just more responsibility. I was going to be in the weight room, something that I really wanted to do. I was going to be coaching.
Hi, my name is Margaret Talia Lemons. I am the new lash tech in Southeast Missouri. I am the CEO of Sweet Lemons Beauty. Sweet Lemons Beauty is where you can come get dolled up while also being relaxed and comfortable. Please come check me out on my social media as Sweet Lemons Beauty. Thank you.
Varsity football, some wrestling, and so at the time, it was just a better opportunity for me to do, basically a better opportunity for me to go do some things that I really wanted to do at the time, so I went to New Madrid for 5 years after that before I came to Dexter in 2000. So everywhere I've been, it's been great. I mean, it really has. But Kennett gave me my start.
Gave you start.
Sure did.
And then, did Coach Tidd show up when you left, or did he?
Coach Tidd, how Coach Tidd came to Kennett, he had just graduated. He was a year behind me in college.
Okay.
And we knew each other pretty good in college, and somehow I knew that he was looking for a job. And whenever New Madrid called, I had basically went to the superintendent here at Kennett and said, listen, this is the opportunity I have. If you tell me no, I'll walk away, no questions. And he basically told me that, he would let me out of my contract if I found a good, viable replacement. I said, well, I got a guy in mind, let me call him. So I called Jim Tidd. Jim Tidd come up here, and it all worked out. Jim was here for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad he's back. I tried to get him back whenever I was at Kennett the second time.
Right.
So, he's a good friend of mine, a good guy. So I felt like that whenever I left, I felt like, I was being replaced with a very good person to begin with, and a guy that would do a great job here at Kennett. So.
Yes, sir. So then you go to New Madrid, and you've got a lot more responsibilities now. I guess, trying to think, was Ronnie Jones the head coach then?
Ronnie Jones was head coach. Yeah.
And y'all had some good teams, didn't you?
Yeah, we had a good team every year. I was there for 5 years, 5 straight district titles. They didn't stop after I left either.
Yes, sir.
Good kids over there, good athletes. I mean, we were pretty blessed with some pretty big time players.
Yeah.
And so, I really enjoyed it over there as well. Just like Kennett, great people over there. The kids were good, and New Madrid is a good school. Just like it, any other school in Southeast Missouri. They're good, and pretty neat setup over there. Everything's set up in pods. So everything is circular at New Madrid's high school. There's no, you don't have any squared off hallways. You're going to walk in a circle.
Yeah, it feels weird the first time you go through there.
You can get lost.
Oh yeah.
So, I really enjoyed my time there. And it was easy. I don't want to say it was easy there, but it was easy. You had to really caution yourself and pay attention that you didn't become a fan of what you were seeing, instead of coaching them. Because they could do some things that couldn't be coached.
Yeah, I remember Tippler reversing the field, and you're going.
Yeah.
Some of them guys.
I mean, a bad pitch on a sweep that hit the ground and bounced around, typically for most teams is a bad play. It's going to be hit for a loss, or it's going to be a turnover. Not for us then. We would pick it up, take it 80.
Yeah.
Which is frustrating. After you go to Dexter, I go to Dexter, and then I'm coaching against that. It's very frustrating as an opposing coach, but you don't want to see that as a coach. But at the same time, you're pretty happy that you have people on your team who are capable of things like that, and that's the type of athletes we had. Game changers, and I think a lot of people that might listen to this will agree if they remember back those times. So
they better, because they're some players.
Right. And as the first 2 years that I was at Dexter in 2000, 2001 was the Tippler group and all them. That was their junior and senior year. Of course, their senior year, you know, they went to the Dome in the state championship game. So, you know, and we played them pretty tough.
We did.
We
I
played
remember
as
that.
tough as anybody.
We had a
back then.
bootleg.
Yeah.
We had a bootleg that we didn't complete that would have put us up deep in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And after they got that ball, I think they scored two or three
Scored
times.
twice in
Yeah.
about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And made it look worse than it was, but it was a great game.
It was a great game. I remember that.
Proud of our kids.
I was the
They
one
played
pulling
hard.
out on that. I mean, like, I remember that play. Like, I just remember it. I don't know, like, the whole thing. It's weird how certain things stick out. But I
Yeah.
remember pulling out. I remember Preston rolling out. I remember Willie. I mean, I was right there. But yeah, so we got a little bit ahead on that. But so when you got the job at Dexter, that was kind of a neat, I mean, I don't know if you want to get into that, but that was kind of a neat deal how you got the job at Dexter. When you came the first time. When you came the first time there. I mean, and I'm thankful for so many reasons that you were there. I remember being my freshman year we played, and the varsity I think was 5-5, but I was a freshman. I was on the freshman team, and on the JV team I was, I think freshman I would have played, freshman games I would have played both ways. And JV I just would have played offense that year. Played. I think honestly that year I think I was still playing tackle because I always wanted them to run quick. I remember getting in trouble by Coach Becker in the huddle pregame. I'm like, yeah, let's run quick pitch because I knew I got to pull and go hit somebody. And then, but I was an early bloomer, and so by the time you got there, everybody else had shot up. And I remember you looking at me first time, you know, and I'm like 5'10". Well, I remember my first one, I was like 5'10", 186. You go, well, Webby, you're not a tackle anymore. You're gonna move your butt over here to guard and pull. And I was like, okay. And but I'll never forget that first meeting in the auditorium when you got there. Well, I mean, how did you end up getting there? When you took that first job, what was some of the stuff that led into that? And you wanted to come to Dexter because you were just whooping everybody at New Magic. What happened there?
Well, I mean, originally, you know, a lot of people don't know this, but originally, you know, I was coming to Dexter as an assistant. I guess coaching against Dexter for those years and kind of seeing the decline, not only not so much about the wins and losses, but it was I think maybe the year before I got there, there was like 22, 23 kids on the team, you know, well, actually, Coach Collier was there. Coach Collier got the numbers up, but prior to Coach Collier, you know, the numbers had declined bad. And, you know, believe it or not, you know, whenever I coached at those other schools, yes, whenever we played Dexter, I mean, I wanted to beat Dexter, but, I guess at the time, you know, how we were beating Dexter, you know, it kind of, I don't know, it was just a sharp pain in my stomach, you know, just kind of looking at my alma mater thinking, you know, it wasn't that long ago where we were the other team, you know, we were doing this, and I guess in my mind, you know, I was just looking at the situation, wondering what was going on, you know, and if I could help, you know, and so I was willing to leave New Madrid, okay, as an assistant and go to Dexter as an assistant, and then, you know, things happened, and the head coach at the time decided to go to Sykeston. So there was a head coaching job open there, so I put in for it and interviewed for it, and thankfully, you know, I got the job. So
And that changed. Like, sometimes we don't, without getting too deep and sidetracked, sometimes I don't know if we know the depth of our impact on life. Like, you know, because you don't always get to see it, and you don't always have people tell you about it. But, like, I think, like, how my life would be different had you not been there, and, you know, or had it not changed. You know, maybe someone else could have done the weight room thing, but it's not all about just the weight room stuff like that. I'll get into that later more, but, like, the way you get people to act right and to do things right and to believe in themselves and to move forward with things like that. I think about that. But then, you know, like, so like I'm teaching JAG now, and I always try to talk about JAG in these videos, but like, who knows, what if you wouldn't have been there and then I wouldn't be teaching JAG? And there's been so many people, I mean, I'm not like bragging about it, but there's been so many people come through that program now that have done better. You know, and I'm so proud of those kids, but, you know, and I'm just one person. There's so many other people that you've been out there and touched and helped, and then they go off to do great things. And, you know, it's like Charlie Hilburn said, well, you ain't ever going to give himself any credit for it. But, and that's true, but we'll get to more of that. But, yeah, I think about that, and it just means, you know, so much to me. So you come to Dexter, and I'll never forget this interview. The first time you met with us. I sit next to one of my best friends at the time, still one of my best friends, John Guy. And me and him, you know, we're not usually scared of stuff. I mean, not like we're super tough guys, but you know, we rattle not super easy. And I remember you came in there and you talked on the podium. I don't even remember what you said now, but I remember looking at John and we were like, whoa, things are going to be a little bit different around here. Because you meant there was wasn't no BS at that time. I mean, we were going to get back to work and get things fixed. And, you know, I think you did that. I mean, you have to.
Well, I think at the time, you know, it was just being a graduate of Dexter and you know, it kind of hurt me to see kind of where the program had gone to, and you know, and right now, hey, we're struggling right now, you know, so it can happen to anybody, you know, I get that, but it was just the years and years and years, you know, just year after year after year, and but you know, I think you know, I was barely 30 years old, I was bouncing off the walls, pretty green, you know, yeah. I wouldn't admit it back then, but, you know, there's a lot that I didn't know back then, you know. There was a lot of things that, whenever you take an opportunity like that, and, you know, you're going to take chances and you hope that it works, but, you know, there was, you know, there's a little bit of anger in there. You're coming in and just wanting to fix things, and you always want to fix things right now, okay? And it's very difficult to do whenever you're dealing with a program, you know, especially a football program with that many kids involved. So you just got to really pick what battle you're really going to go after and go as hard as you can after that. You know, and in my mind, in 2000, the only battle, okay, on my mind was these kids have to get bigger, faster, and stronger. You know, because I believed, okay, then, and I believe it now, that the bigger and the faster and the stronger you get, the better your mind is, the more focused you are, you know, the more confident you are, and that's what I focused on more than anything. You know, I didn't focus on football was secondary. You know, it really was. You know, I know people, you know, tag me in that category. You know, and might think that it's all about football. It's really not. No. It's about everything you have to do to get to be a successful football player. That's the most important thing, you know. And so very seldom are you ever going to have a team to where you don't have to do anything. You just got to show up on game day and play and win. You know, it doesn't happen. You know, I've never had a team like that. Right. So, and I'll never have a team like that. So, I just knew that we could control one thing, and that's how hard we worked. So, you know, that's just kind of the mindset I took, and plus that was still, you know, I think that I was very lucky. I felt like Dexter, okay, and the kids and the parents were begging for something different, and thank goodness some of the things I did back then I might not be able to get away with right now, but you know, it worked out great. Just a bunch of really good, hard-working guys that just through blood, sweat, and tears, you know, made some things happen, and we had some success with that. So we had some good athletes in there, but more than anything, it was just blue-collar guys getting after it, being coachable, and just working as hard as they can.
Sir, and that's what I think is the best part of you. It's like we're gonna win, and you win most of the time. I mean, heck, you got like 106 or something wins as a coach. Like, you won a lot of games, you know. So, but that's not. I mean, I never felt like that was all what it was about. Like as a kid, and I think a lot of the other kids or people that are adults now think that way too. Like, it's about being a good person, getting to work, doing what's right. Like, that's the kind of stuff that I remember about it. You know, we had fun too, and, you know, I remember, gosh, when we almost beat Bluff that year, you know, and they beat on that field goal at the end of the game. That's the only game, seriously, I'll never forget this. It was the only game I cried afterwards, because we'd always been so close. My grade had always been so close to beating them, like within a touchdown most years. And that was the only one, but
Yeah, those were some good, you know.
great times with it.
You guys lost 2 games in the regular season, I believe.
Yes, sir.
One against, still maybe one of the best teams I've ever coached against, the guys in Arkansas.
My goodness.
And, you know, and of course, Bluff was good.
Yep.
But, you know, guys like Willie Dooley that stand up after that game, okay, in the huddle, on the field after the game, and he just looks everybody in the eye and tells them, we're going 8-2. We were 0-2.
Yeah.
Okay, and he said, we're not going to lose another game. He meant it.
Yeah.
You know, guys say things sometimes and, you know, they don't really mean it. But he meant it.
Yeah.
And we went 8-2. And, you know, I knew that that group had special qualities to them. But really that group, what I liked the most was really good leadership. You know, they had some renegades, but you could coach them, they took it, okay, and on the field, they were good leaders. And, you know, I think most of those guys, if not all of them, were pretty successful today, too. So,
Yes, sir.
you know, I mean, you know, not just that, you know, some of the, you know, I've had a few 5-5 teams in there where I felt like, you know, I'm just as proud of these guys as I am any team that won most of their games. And, you know, because I felt like they played as hard as they could, okay, and they might have played a little over their head at times just to get to 5-5. Okay? And really, it was just determination. You know, just working as hard as they could in the weight room and practice, and just trying to be the best they could, if not maybe a little bit better than what they could. And so, you know, I've had some 5-5 teams that shoot, I'm just as proud, you know, to have coached, you know, as I have a 9-1 team or an 8-2 team, or, you know, something like that. So, you know, again, you know, it's just, I don't think of wins and losses whenever I think about football. You know, I think about everything else that it takes to get to that point. You know, so.
Well, I mean, like when proof of that is like when we were here, let's talk about that a minute. I mean, like your 100th win, you didn't even know it was your 100th win until after the game when Amy had the banner and all that stuff. You know, we had that party down here. But anyways, let's talk about that. So like you've been at Dexter, you were there for how many years were you at Dexter before?
13 years.
13 years,
Yeah.
And then you end up going to Kennett, and everybody and my brother was like, "What is going on here?" Nobody, I don't think anybody saw that coming. I know that I didn't, and I didn't know about Kennett. I had this wrong perception of what Kennett was in my mind. You know, knowing it now, like it's not near as crazy. Just Kennett's a good place. There's lots of good people. But you know, growing up always going against him, you don't always think that way. You know, but how did that happen? I mean, like that was. I remember I called you from up north where I was living. I was like, "Coach, you're going to Kennett? Like, what's going on? Like what a."
Well, I mean, I was somewhat surprised by it too. I mean, really, I was not actively looking to go anywhere. You know, I still had 2 kids in high school. You know, I mean, one was a sophomore, the other one was a freshman at the time. You know, my last year there at Dexter, and Kennett, you know, people from Kennett called me 2 or 3 times, okay, over the course of my career at Dexter, asking me, hey, you know, would you be interested in coming down here and talking about being a football coach? And you know, I basically say on the phone, no, thank you. You know, I'm happy where I'm at. And you know, that whole year, maybe the year prior, you know, I don't know. It's hard to explain. You know, you get a feeling in your gut, you know, about, you know, you want to do something different. You know, you want to try something different. You want to go, just things like that. That, you know, I was not. I don't know. It was almost like my body was telling me, maybe my soul was telling me, hey, let's go try something different. And my man Chris Sledge gave me a call, and whenever he asked me if I'd be interested in, I'm just talking about it. Obviously Chris doesn't do the interview or anything like that. Right. Just talking about it, and something inside of me said, yeah, I'll come down and talk. And then I, got Coach Gilmore, Coach David Gilmore. God bless his soul. I miss him every day.
Good guy, real good guy.
Calls me, I come down and we talk, and it was just the feeling. I tell you what, even though I went down there talking, I never expected to leave. I never expected to take the job, but I did want to give them the common courtesy to go talk to him at that time, and I just felt like they were ready for something different. I felt like at Kennett, and I felt the same way at Dexter in 2000. I felt like these people want something different. They're ready to do something different. They want to be successful here. And whenever I talked to these guys at Kennett 13 years later, I felt the exact same way. And it kind of got me excited. It got my blood boiling a little bit. And, one thing led to another, and I decided to, right around Christmas break, right before we came back from Christmas break, I decided to take the job, and glad I did it.
Yeah.
I enjoy every bit of it.
It was which I'm glad you did too. It led to me being here. I remember when you took it. I called you from. I was at a basketball tournament. I was an assistant coach at a basketball tournament, and we were in between games or something. I don't know. And I called you and talked to you for a while. And I was like, "You're going to Kennett." And then I never would have thought that a year or two, probably I think it was 2 years later. You're Kennett, what, 4 years? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was 3 years later. I'd be getting the chance to come down here with you, and it was all by happenstance. Like I remember, I'd interviewed at New Madrid, and Coach Ort was still there, and at that time I hadn't even thought about I interviewed there to be the head football coach, and I hadn't really thought about coming to Kennett, And then I'm at school a couple days later. They didn't hire me at New Madrid. They hired a different guy, and I get a phone call from you, and this is token Coach Pixley on the phone. It's just so funny. I was like, hey, I got your resume on my desk. You want to come down here and be an assistant coach with me? And I was like, I don't know. And you're on the other end. What do you mean you don't know? Like, and a bunch of crazy stuff happened, and it worked out, and it was so cool. Like there's a picture, and it'll play on the picture that'll play on the opening promo. You probably saw it. It was me, you, and Coach Penn, and like at that time Dexter had beaten Kennett, I don't know, however many games in a row, like 13 or something. I don't know. Well, 13.
Yeah, it's been 13 years.
Yeah, because every year, and then Kennett finally, you were at Kennett, and we finally beat Dexter, and there's a picture of me, you, and Lance walking off the field after that game, and it's one of my favorite pictures because it was so cool, like getting to do that, because it was so fun getting to come and help you, because I was in my brain like my whole life. Like I remember, like I would come and I'd apply for a job somewhere or something, and I'd bring and show you my kids and all these things, and I mean, to be a part of that, like that was cool. I mean, I don't know, that's one of my favorite things.
Well, I think whenever you're trying to turn a program around, you got to have good people, and you certainly fall into that category. And so whenever we had Aaron New, Lance Penn, my brother Arlen came on staff for a couple years, and then we got you on there, and
Rayfield.
Yeah, Coach Rayfield, who's now coaching at Hayti. It helps to turn it around where you got guys that know what they're doing, for one, know some football, but two who are good with kids, who can handle all types of kids, because as you know, there's all types, and there's different triggers and there's different buttons you can push, on different kids. So, Kennett was not an easy job.
No.
At the time, it was they were about as low as you can get, really.
Yeah.
as a program, and which, oddly enough, didn't bother me one bit. It really didn't bother me, about that. I was a little shocked by, maybe the lack of knowledge of football, by, a lot of the kids coming in there. Rather than that, I knew what I was getting into, and it was hard, but it was very, very rewarding because, you start your first summer off and you average about 10 to 12 kids in the weight room. But the key is you got to open the doors. First and foremost, you got to let everyone know. They have to know that you're going to be there. You're going to keep giving them opportunities to come in and be successful. And it was just it was just great to watch. Because it went from 10 to 12 kids to 30 kids the next summer to 60 to 70 kids the next summer to the last summer it was 70 to 90 kids, and not just football guys, obviously,
right.
But all athletes, girls, boys, and that's really what I wanted to do. I didn't want to come in there and just create a football atmosphere and nobody else involved. I wanted all the athletes at Kennett to be successful. Basically the blueprint that I took into Dexter, going after all the athletes, not just football guys. We want the girls basketball players in the weight room. We want the volleyball players. We want the baseball players, the boys basketball players. We want them all in there, and try to build up the athletic program and not just the football program. And that was, I wasn't always successful with it, but I think that we did some really good things at Kennett. And
I did too.
I think you have a fantastic coach that took it and and is taking it to heights that Kennett's never been to. So.
Right, but we're going into that, and I know, and Coach White does a hell of a job, and he pushes these kids, and he does a great job. But there were so many. If you look at Kennett in 2014, like the facilities and all the things, and there's a lot of people that really helped make that get better. But you ain't gonna win with 10 to 12 kids in the weight room. But you look at where they are, and some of the kids that came out of Kennett, both when you were there and when Wyatt's been here now, and they go on and do other things. You look at Bud Hilburn, Brett Harris; those guys have gone on to great careers at SEMO, and
yeah.
It's just been something else. So then,
trust me, it wasn't just me. I might have been the face of it all, but I promise you, I was just a piece of it. It took a lot of people to turn that football program around, and turn it towards the right direction. And Chris Wilson is huge,
great guy too, another great guy.
He will not take an ounce of credit. He probably never even thinks about it. But just Chris Wilson, what he provided for us, and just support. Richie Leaker, Chad Pritchett, just the administration. And if I don't have if I don't have Charlie Hilbert, for example, we don't average 12 people in the weight room the first year. We average 5.
Right.
Because he's up at 5:30 in the morning driving around town picking up kids and dragging them out and trying to get them here. And he did it the whole time I was there. The Harris family, huge for me. Not just good friends, but they're just big for this town, this school, and just so important. And I'm leaving a lot of people out. And I could talk about a lot of people for a long time and go on and on. But it's the old saying, it takes a village. It did that. And typically, prior to me coming to Kennett, I wouldn't accept the help. But I don't know. I felt like I needed to, not have a heart attack by the time I was 46 years old, and
right.
Start trusting in people a little bit more. And I'm glad I did, because I have some lifelong friends from it. So,
sure.
Yeah, it's been good.
That's good. So you end up going back to Dexter, and so you did. Now you're coaching again, which you went back and you were AD for a year,
Mm-hmm.
and I think you may still owe somebody some barbecue on that, because we thought there ain't no way you could not coach. It's just I don't know. It's just who you are, man. I'm not sure you define it.
I'll put it on camera right here. I did not go back to Dexter to coach.
No. I know it, right. I know you didn't,
Right.
but I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's just in your blood, you know. You like helping people like that, and it's got,
Yeah,
you know.
I enjoy being an AD because you get to be on the other side, you know, of looking in.
Sure.
You know, as a coach, like you have tunnel vision,
Uh-huh.
and you don't look here, you don't look here. You're just looking straight ahead the whole time. Wherever you AD, you got to look about 50 different directions all the time, and you know, there's a lot more to take care of, and which is a lot of work. You know, I tell you what, you know, I have a lot of you know, as far as all the ADs out there, you know, it's a big job.
Yes, sir.
I'll just put it that way. You know, it's a big job. They have a lot of work to do. I mean, a lot of work to do, and but just whenever you're walking the halls, you know, you don't have a direct impact on the kids anymore at that point, because you know, you're not with them for those 2 or 3 hours, sweating with them, yelling at them, coaching them, patting them on the back, you know, blah blah blah, you know, and you know, I miss that, but you know, I knew I would miss it. So you know, I mean, it wasn't like I was surprised about it all. You know, I was very happy doing what I was doing, and you know, just kind of things happened. You know, our head coach decided that, you know, he wanted to leave and go back to Tennessee, and you know, I looked for a coach for a while, and I didn't have any luck, and you know, our superintendent came to me and said, hey, before we go any farther with this, you know, are you interested in it? And I said, well, you know, I don't know. You know, I was so focused on trying to find another coach that so you know, I thought about it for a day or so, and I said, you know what, you know, I think I am interested in it. You know, I miss it, and they hired me as a head coach, and I went back to the weight room. So I'm in the weight room, you know, from 0 hour all the way through 6 hours, you know, 7 hours of it a day, and I coach football. I'm coaching junior high wrestling and loving it, and you know, right now we're trying to turn our program back around.
Sure.
So and again, it's not easy. It's hard, and you know, the older you get, you know, the more reclamation projects you take on. You know, you gotta find that energy, you know, to do it. But it's we have good kids. We have good kids. We've had a good summer. We are stronger than we were last year. Still, at this point, we're still probably not strong enough. But coming from where they came from to where they are now, they've done an outstanding job. But
That's good.
You know, we're just taking it one day at a time, keeping our head down, going to work, and you know, hopefully at some point we can put it all together and you know, start being successful again.
I hope so too. I really do. Couple last questions here before we wrap it up. How about, all right, if you could, this is kind of a silly one before we hit you with the hard one here. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
All that. Mind control.
Mind control.
If I could get every kid that I've ever coached to have the right mindset, you know, I'd probably have a lot of championships on the wall.
That's for sure. You'd have a lot of strong kids. I know that.
Because really, you know, you can talk about all the physical stuff all you want to. If your mind don't believe it, it's not going to happen.
Sir.
Only mind control.
That's a good one. So, you know, I was telling you, and you know about JAG, and how much I like it and how much I work with. You know, I mean, like I tell people about your story, like these kids. You know, some of them have it really bad, you know, and some of it have it kind of bad. You know, and I say, guys, man, do you remember Coach Pixley? Some of them do, some of them don't. You know, I'm starting to get where they're too young. You know, I said, how many brothers and sisters do you have? You know, they say whatever. I'm like, the guy grew up with this many brothers and sisters. I mean, he's a coach. He's done so many great things for other people. Like if Coach Pixley can do it, like why can't you do it? You know, I try to tell them things like that so they know. You know, like you said, so they can believe that they can do it. Like you said, if their mind ain't right, the body won't do it. And really, if you could, today's youth, you know, people out there, there's some people struggling. Everybody's got a lot of stuff going on. Today's youth, people that are fixing to graduate or whatnot, you know, what's your ticket of advice here for them about life?
Well, I just think that, I mean, I'm the perfect example of, if you think you can't get out, you'll think again, because you can get out. If you really, you put your mind to things, you get determined, you get focused. And also young athletes, just young people in general, be willing to be taught, be willing to be coached, let someone teach you, let someone coach you, don't look for an easy way out, don't, things in life don't get handed to you on a plate, people use the word all the time, entitlement, people expect you to give them things, and it just doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, okay? And whenever they grow up and they got to go off on their own, they sometimes don't know what to do whenever life really hits them hard. And so my advice is, be willing to be taught something, be willing to learn, and even if you don't like what someone's telling you at the time, it's probably the truth. Okay, and the truth hurts sometimes. It hurts me still to this day. And so, but if you're willing to learn, you'll be successful in life. But plus it teaches you to handle all these adversities that life is going to, give you, because it's inevitable. And that's what I like about sports so much. There's always adversity. There's always adversity. There's always some obstacle that is preventing you from doing what you want. And that's life, okay? And what you got to do is figure out how to get around it and move on. And so I think if you will allow yourself to be taught and be coached, you can handle all those obstacles in life. That's what sports does for you. Football is not life. It really isn't. But sports isn't life. It's what's taught. It's how you. What kind of teammate are you? How do you handle difficult situations? And whenever you learn from those situations, okay, and you're a good teammate, okay, and you're playing for the right reasons, life seems to be a lot easier whenever you get out on your own, because you have the right attitude, you have the right, blueprint for it. So, yeah, just those things right there. It's not that's what I try to do anyway. I'm not always great at it, but so. I just want them to be successful in life, really, because I think if they can get that at an early age, and have that mindset, then I think everything falls into line. Once they're going through school, they have a better chance at being successful in their academics, athletics, and anything else they choose to do. The earlier the better, to get that mindset set in there. And that's really what we did at Kent. We just kind of changed their mindset, from one thing to another, and we started having more success. And like I said, Coach White's really taken it to a whole nother height, and so I campaigned for Coach White. Now I'm regretting it a little. No, he did. But I tell you what, there wasn't anybody happier than me at the time.
Right.
Because at the time, Coach White, he's the most successful guy, in Southeast Missouri, and I just knew that whether it be you or Lance Penn or Coach White, I felt like they know what to do with the program.
Sure.
They're not gonna, they're gonna invest the time in it, and obviously, you guys as a group, I don't want to call out one guy, but that staff has done a great job. You've done a great job, coaching that defense, and I think it helps that you have really good kids that play extremely hard for you guys too. But I'm proud of Kenneth's football program.
Sure.
Still am. Or still want to win, but at the same time, I'm proud of where it's gotten to.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Coach, I thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I've been looking forward to this since since the idea popped in, I think it's gonna be great. You'll be coming out. You'll be my first one, and I thank you so much for being here. I think you know, if we do some of these things, you know, maybe some kids will see this and figure it out and make a good difference in their life.
Well, I mean, I appreciate you having me on, and I know you've done a great job with that track program. I know you kind of fallen in love with that.
Yeah, it's
You
fun.
wasn't really a track guy at heart before you took it over, and of course, you know, I think that probably the most important thing that you've done here is taking that JAG program to where, you know, to a place it's never been. You know, it's really unprecedented. You know what you've done, and the people in this town truly love you, and so that's a sign of you doing a great job and just being the person you are, Webby. So. You know, I appreciate you, and I appreciated you back whenever you played for me, because you played so hard, and you know, and you were a big part of our success for sure. So I appreciate you having me on.
Sir, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.